You never talk about the moment you finally realized you were giving everything, while receiving almost nothing in return. And maybe you don't say it out loud because it still feels like a quiet failure you carry inside your chest, something you pretend didn't shape you, even though it did. Maybe you gave too much. Maybe you chased when you should have waited. Maybe you were patient when someone was using your patience against you. Or maybe you kept hoping they would notice the effort you were killing yourself to give. You learned early that wanting someone too much can make you invisible. It can make your voice softer, your needs smaller, your boundaries weaker. And somewhere in that silence, you started to wonder why love always felt like a test you were doomed to fail. But listen carefully, because the truth you've been avoiding is the one thing that can finally free you. You were not weak, you were conditioned by your past, by your wounds, by the way people treated you when you didn't know your worth. Conditioned to believe that affection must be earned, that attention must be chased, that acceptance must be begged for, and that lie shaped every relationship you've stepped into. You learned to overgive, over-explain, overcommit, hoping someone would finally choose you with the same intensity you chose them. But you never stopped to ask why you felt the need to prove yourself in the first place. Dark psychology is not about control over others. It's about understanding the silent forces that have always controlled you, the guilt that kept you quiet, the fear that kept you chasing, the emotional insecurity that made you think love was a reward instead of a connection. The mind games you didn't even realize were shaping your self-worth, and once you understand that, you see why people are drawn to confidence, detachment, and emotional clarity. You see why the ones who don't chase often become the ones everyone else wants. There's a reason Machiavellian principles show up in human attraction. Not because manipulation is romantic, not because games are admirable, but because people are subconsciously drawn to emotional strength. When you stand firm, you signal value. When you stay grounded, you signal security. When you hold boundaries, you signal self-respect. And to someone who's used to using emotional control, gaslighting, silence, or attention withdrawal to get what they want, your self-respect becomes something they can't easily bend. It fascinates them, it challenges them, it makes them chase. The first secret is simple, but not easy. The less you seek approval, the more magnetic you become. People can feel when you need them. They can sense when you're afraid to lose them. That fear creates an imbalance, one where you overinvest while they underinvest. It's not that they're better than you, it's that your fear hands them power, and most people, whether they admit it or not, behave differently when they have power over your emotions. Some use it gently, some use it selfishly, some use it to keep you small, so they never have to question their own worth. This is how trauma bonding begins, not through love, but through emotional imbalance. You stay because you want the version of them they showed you in the beginning. You stay because the good moments feel so rare that you cling to them like proof. You stay because you hope your patience will turn them into who they promised they would be. But deep inside, a quieter truth grows heavier. You're not chasing the person, you're chasing the feeling of mattering. And the more that feeling slips away, the harder you chase. This is the cycle that makes you forget your boundaries, forget your value, forget your own emotional needs. The second secret is emotional unpredictability, not manipulative inconsistency, but emotional independence. When someone never knows whether they have your full attention, they naturally try harder. Not because they're being played, but because your life clearly doesn't revolve around them. You don't respond instantly. You don't explain yourself unnecessarily. You don't collapse your entire world into theirs. Your distance isn't a game. It's a sign that you exist fully as yourself. And that is something people in toxic relationships rarely experience. They're used to controlling, not competing. They're used to receiving, not earning. They're used to being pursued, not pursuing. Your independence disrupts that dynamic in a way that pulls them toward you. The third secret is emotional clarity. When you speak with calm certainty, when you state your needs without shaking, when you know exactly what you're willing to accept, you become the kind of person who cannot be manipulated. Gaslighting becomes ineffective, silent treatment becomes pointless, emotional withdrawal becomes powerless. Because you aren't shaped by fear or guilt anymore, you're shaped by intention, and intention is one of the most attractive psychological traits a person can have. People chase what feels solid, reliable, self-assured. Even those who once used manipulation as their weapon instinctively move towards someone who can see through the fog without losing themselves. But the fourth secret is the one most people never learn. Walking away with dignity is stronger than trying to stay with desperation. When you're not afraid to lose someone, you become someone they're afraid to lose, not because you're playing a trick, not because you're acting cold, but because your silence is not punishment, it's self-respect. You stop explaining your worth. You stop pleading for effort. You stop negotiating your emotional safety. And the moment you do that, the power dynamic changes. People chase what respects itself. People value what values itself. People return to what does not cling to them. The final secret, the one that transforms everything, is emotional self-control, the ability to breathe through your frustration, the ability to hold back your need for validation, the ability to let someone's distance reveal their priorities, the ability to observe human behavior without begging for reassurance. This is the foundation of dark psychology, not manipulation, but mastery. Mastery over your impulses, your insecurities, your wounds. Mastery over the parts of you that once accepted breadcrumbs because you didn't believe you deserved better. Mastery over the habits you built trying to earn affection from emotionally unavailable people. When you reach this place, something powerful happens. You stop giving your heart to people who confuse attention with commitment. You stop chasing people who only show effort when they fear you might leave. You stop letting guilt shape your actions. You stop letting loneliness shape your decisions. You stop falling into toxic relationships that thrive on your silence. You recognize the mind games. You see the red flags. You walk away before the trauma bonding begins. And the irony is that once you stop chasing love, love starts chasing you, not because you're using Machiavellian manipulation, not because you're playing psychological games, but because your energy shifts from scarcity to self-worth. You become someone who chooses instead of someone who waits to be chosen. You become someone who isn't impressed by inconsistency or emotional control. You become someone whose presence feels grounding, steady, and strong. And people chase what makes them feel safe, admired, and emotionally challenged. What they once took for granted becomes something they fear losing. What they once overlooked becomes something they can't ignore. This is how women chase you first, not through tricks, but through transformation, through quiet confidence, through emotional independence, through self-respect so firm that no one can bend it, through a presence that feels both calm and powerful, through boundaries that are not walls, but gateways to a healthier self. You don't force attraction. You don't manipulate it. You embody it. And as the weight of everything you've learned settles into your chest, breathe slowly and let this truth sink deeper than the pain that once shaped you. You never needed to chase anyone. You only needed to stop running from yourself, because the moment you finally choose yourself, the world starts choosing you back.